We'll wait for all people to join.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining today's virtual conference. Firstly, I hope each one of you is keeping safe and well. My name is Hardik Vaidya, and I'll be your host for the day. Dun& Bradstreet India, in association with Microsoft India, is glad to present this virtual conference on a pertinent topic, embracing next-gen unified digital platform, a necessary transformation to maximize business performance for project-centric organizations. Before we begin though, I request all of you to please take a moment and go through the guidelines that we have displayed on your screen in just a moment. There you have it. So we encourage all of you to ask questions in this session. We request you to please type in your queries in the Q&A session. These will be taken up in the session after the panel discussion. A couple of tips though. We want to know more about you, all our attendees. So please ensure that you put in your name and the company name when you post a question. You may also mention the person you'll be directing the question to. As you can see on the screen, there's an Ask a Question section that will help you converse better with the speakers and the moderator. Request you all to please use this to the fullest. Now, let's take a quick look at the flow of today's session. So please refer to the agenda that's there on your screen right now. As you can see, we have a phenomenal lineup of speakers and panelists. Actually, I should say a power-packed panelist. I would like to take this opportunity once again to welcome and thank each one of you for taking the time out and being a part of this virtual conference today. To begin with, please join me in welcoming the first keynote address of this virtual conference, Mr. Gomti Nayagam, Senior Specialist at Microsoft India. Welcome, Mr. Gomti, and over to you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, Hardik, and thanks for the panelists for joining with us today. And thanks for all the audience to participate, and thanks for time to come along. I hope all of you and your family and friends are all safe. So let me present my screen. And let me know once you can see the screen, Hardik. See the presentation.
Yeah. Buffering? Yeah. Visible, sir. You can commence.
All right. Fantastic. So I have 10 minutes time. Let me quickly take you through how we empower from a Microsoft perspective, how we empower the service organization with Microsoft Dynamics 365 project operations. And today, irrespective of the industry where you are and where you work with, either you work with a B2B organization or with a B2C business model, no longer we sell just a product and move away. We look forward for a lifetime value with the consumers, and we look forward for a recurring business and from a long-term relationship perspective when it comes to the B2B organization. So it's all a service, whether you sell a product or anything else, the relationship is going to be long. From that perspective, every organization is transforming to a service organization. Let me move to the next one. Okay, so what is the organizations are in demand and what is the need is today the business models are changing, and hence we need a flexible system which allows people to collaborate internally more effectively. And we also capture a lot of relationship touch points in the overall journey and deliver the best and better experience to our customers, both when I call customers internally to the employees as well to the customers outside your organization. And the second is, most of the time, if you see the business processes from the time we touch base with the customers as a lead and prospect till the time we invoicing it out and billing, a lot of business processes are still a manual, and which needs an automation with better insights in place. And second and third important parameter, if you see for the service-centered organization, is the visibility of people, and people with the right skill are deployed at the right project so that we are able to execute the project in time and deliver in time and make a good profit out of every project that we work on. With this need of the organization coming in play, and if you see, as service-centered organizations have rapidly embraced the cloud, that they benefit from the increased productivity and efficiency that comes out with a cloud-based software and enterprise business solutions. From the sales to final billing, organizations rely heavily on the support of technology for various purposes, right, to enable the teams and complete tasks. However, if you see, if you see the organizations, they have multiple systems which are supporting today, right? The sales team works on CRM, and the project team works on a project and portfolio management system, and your finance is on the ERP side, right? So which is like the era where we have all adopted the best of breed solutions, but we create a lot of silos. While individually every department is doing their level best to transform, but the coordination and the collaboration from the sales team, the moment from the closure of the deal and handover to the project team, and how they take it up and understanding the complete sales cycle and what is committed beyond the contract and how the dynamics are working. And the sales team picks up the contract and they start working in their project and portfolio management system, right? When they do an excellent job in delivering the work, they they actually record the time and efforts what they have invested, what are the milestones they achieved in their system. They again send it back to the finance team to raise an invoice, and that's where the finance team starts working on a separate system of ERP, right? While this is good, the big challenge, if you see, everyone collaboration and getting the visibility of people when the project comes in. Do we have the right skills available at this moment, or do we need to outsource, or do we need to recruit someone? If we can have the visibility ahead of time, that's where the HR and the resourcing team will be able to plan their activities much better, right? And this, in terms of the business, if you see, the moment we have this collaboration in place and we are able to deliver the projects in time, that's where we are able to ensure that foster time to market, foster cash, and foster relationship of a good cash flow coming back into the system. And with that, let me go to the next one. So how Microsoft Dynamics project operation, Dynamics 365 project operations is helping here is we help the project sales team to win more contracts, right? And so from the lead time until the time, it's not only about taking that as a lead, but it's about working with the team to create a code and make a proposal and ensure that we convert it into the order, right? And then the project management team comes in, and all the team who are working at the different stakeholders for a particular project, they need to work on a collaborative model, right? So what is in it for these people when they adopt Microsoft Dynamics 365 project operations? If you see here, from a project sales and delivery standpoint, the client satisfaction is the foremost thing. So when we deliver a project on time, on budget, we as an organization not only make more profit, we are also ensuring that the client satisfaction is at a high, and that helps us to get a repeat business from the customers, right? And that's from the project sales perspective. And the resourcing time, we are able to see a clear utilization and productivity of every people who are working on it. And we have a clear visibility of the skills available in the organization for any new projects coming up, so that we are able to allocate and put people with the right skills in the right project, so that we are able to deliver the projects in time. From a project manager's standpoint, they are able to accelerate the project delivery. What if we can complete the project well ahead of the schedule, or well ahead of the plan, what we have given as a commitment to the customer? So one, we are able to make the cash in the organization. Second, customer is super happy, right? So that needs is not the project manager's role alone. While he is carrying the responsibility, he needs to have right insights available to him on what is being discussed during the sales cycle and what is in the contract. And that is visible not only to him, to all the people at the back end who are working with him. And he has to collaborate with a larger team of people. And in this entire, with the right visibility and collaboration, that's where the cost reduction is happening, and service delivery is, they are able to accelerate the service delivery. From the team members' perspective, if you see, the people in the organization, at the end of the day, employee experience is very important and equally important, while we are focusing on the customer experience. And when people are happy, where they get the right project for the skills where they are, that's where we are able to, from a HR perspective, we are able to prevent attrition, and we are able to bring down the attrition, and we are able to rotate people and put make them to be, in the right project where they are very happy and they do a fantastic job in delivering to the customer. From a finance perspective, faster time to billing, that's the most and important stuff. And we're able to compliance, right? So at the end of the day, transparency in the way we work internally and with customer is very important, right? While service delivery models are plenty. So it's not only the fixed based project. It's not about T&M time and methods, materials based. It's also about revenue generation. In telecom business, if you see, most of the organizations are working with technology companies from a revenue sharing model. So if we are able to make right milestones as we committed, we are able to raise invoice at the right point in time. From a leader standpoint, it's about increase the innovation and business agility. It's today in this current scheme of thing where most of the organizations are allowing people to work from home. It's all the more imperative that we, one, communicate to people very effectively, make them informed. Second, we capture their relationship and emotional quotients at the right touch points where they're working with us and with the customers. And we give them a platform where they collaborate and they're effectively able to deliver the work. That's a very critical thing when it comes. And that's where we are able to bring down the OPEX and we are able to improve the operational excellence in the organization, which in turn helps the organization to make the project success, delivered on time, on budget, and repeat it every time. What is in it at the end of the day? We are with Dynamics 365 project operations. We help to get the visibility. We help to collaborate and give the insights across the project operations business cycle, right? So for each stakeholder, it's all about, from the sales perspective, winning more contracts. As we summarize in the resourcing, from optimize the resource utilization, and people are happy in this exercise. Project managers are able to accelerate the delivery of these services. And as a team member, the overall productivity for the organization goes high, and we are able to simplify the time and the expenses are being optimized. As an outcome of all these efforts, we are able to maximize the profitability for the organization as a whole, right? This is a summary, though it's a busy slide. It's a summary of what Microsoft Dynamics 365 project operations deliver from each persona perspective. From a project sales, it goes beyond the lead, ability to quote with the right proposal, and in consultation with the delivery team. Most of the time, sales team gets aggressive to commit something, which the delivery team finds it difficult to adhere to. So that's the collaboration is required even before the quotation or the proposal goes in. That's where the sales team finds it effective. And in this whole exercise, the project planning team were able to have a visibility of what's going on the field and which is expected as a next project. Do I have a visibility of the people at the back end? Should I ask my HR and resourcing team to give them a heads up to plan accordingly, right? And that's where the resource management team is finding it easy, and the time and expense entry and approval is all being automated. There is no manual task is being involved. Project costing, and we are able to bring down and maximize the profitability. Invoicing in time is one of the very biggest thing. So, and the project financials overall, there is a good revenue forecast from the services team, which the CFO's organization and the COO are able to plan it well before they commit to the management and the board, right? So Microsoft Dynamics 365 project operations, helps the organization across all this. In nutshell, from the experience of we working with the service organizations, we have seen that they're appreciating on these 5 pillars, which has helped them, which I was, summarizing in the previous slide. Next comes, what is that in the organization for the organization from the return on investment with the right project management solution like Microsoft Dynamics 365 project operations solution. We are able to the levers, if you see the pillars, drive new project sales up, right? That's one of the key where we can make more revenue. Second is optimize the cost. How do we maximize the productivity and how do we optimize the cost overall? And how do we collaborate? That's a key and foremost thing, especially in the current pandemic time where people are working from home and from different locations. And in the overall, how do we prevent some of the profit leakages which is happening without our notice, right? And which we end up measuring it only during the end of the project or after raising the invoice after the customer is not happy, right? So these are all the benefits what we could able to deliver to customers with the Microsoft Dynamics 365 project operations solutions. With that, let me thank you, all of you, for listening to me. Any questions? I'm happy to take it up.
Well, wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Gomti, for a wonderful presentation. Lots of valuable pointers to take away. All right, let's march forward and move on to the most awaited knowledge sharing session, the interactive session, the panel discussion. This discussion is around the topic embracing next-gen unified digital platform, a necessary transformation to maximize business performance for project-centric organizations. Request all our delegates, all the attendees to please post their questions, queries in the Ask Comments section. We will address them in the Q&A session. All right, so let me introduce our wonderful moderator. Ms. Shruti Garg is a senior tech specialist at Microsoft India. Welcome, Ms. Garg. Thank you for joining us. Our first panelist for the day is Mr. Dinesh Modi. He's the Chief Financial Officer at Cactus Communications Private Limited. Welcome, Mr. Modi, and thank you for joining us. Next, I would like to introduce Mr. Deepak Kumar, Head Finance and Commercials, Apollo Tyres Limited. Welcome, Mr. Kumar, and thank you for joining us. Following him, we have Mr. Parna Ghosh, Chief Information Officer at UNO Minda Group. Welcome, Mr. Ghosh, for joining us. And next up, we have Mr. Sanjay Nandavrekar, Director IT Cipla Limited. Welcome, Mr. Sanjay. Once again, thank you for joining us. Next up on the panel, we have Mr. Chirag Bunlia, Chief Technology Officer at MBC Group. Welcome, Mr. Bunlia. I hope you're keeping safe. Once again, thank you for joining us. We also have Mr. Praveen Hungun, Chief Technologist and Global Head Technovation Center, CTO at Wipro Limited. Welcome, Mr. Praveen. Thank you for your kind presence. And following him, last but not the least, we have Mr. Apurv Mankar, Chief Executive Officer at Web Express. Welcome, Mr. Mankar, once again, and thank you for joining us. May I request all our panelists to please switch on your video and unmute yourself in case you haven't yet. And I'd like to hand it over to Ms. Garg. Over to you, and let's commence the panel discussion.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hardik. And a very good morning to all the viewers for attending this webinar. And I would also like to thank Gomti for a wonderful presentation and for also setting the stage for our discussion today, where we're going to discuss and deliberate on how technology enabled on a unified service execution platform is helping the project-centric organizations to maximize their business performance in terms of customer satisfaction, the employee experience, impact on the working capital, the top line and bottom line, to name a few. Welcome all the esteemed panelists on board. Let me start with you, Praveen. So we see in today's scenario, right, it's highly competitive. There are certain things like winning more deals, accelerating the project delivery, or increasing the project margin. These are some of the key considerations or the things that we really aspire for, right? How do you think, or what do you think you really need to address these considerations?
Thanks, Shruti, and thank you for inviting me on this panel. I'll spend there's a lot that's happening out there, right? And maybe I'll spend a initial minute on trying to look at how the service industry or the industry sector itself is transforming and why this becomes a very critical part. While the whole aspect of what you said, right, very competitive space, driving margins becomes very critical. Having the right skill set, competencies become very important. But more important, if you look at the whole space, is the very definition of what service means is transforming today, right? Forget service, industry itself is transforming. You look at every industry out there, they've tried to call themselves a technology company today, right? The largest retailer does not say I sell products, they say we are a technology player, right? So, and there are a lot of stuff which are driving these transformations, right? I'll probably talk one or two concepts which are critical from a services perspective, right? One is the whole codification of money, markets, and trust. Right? We've seen that happen big time. And what that has done is taken technology away from a back office centric, automation centric, tool to something that goes right at the edge into the hands of the end user, a functional person or a customer. And because of that, you're seeing a fairly large shift in the way technology itself is getting perceived and services itself is getting delivered, where you're moving away from software-defined into a software-defined world across, right? We looked at that. Now, let's go back and look at how we looked at applications in the past, right? Even the best case scenario, most ERP systems address 30-40% of processes in the industries, right? The rest of them were all called as operations technology. They were something niche, something isolated, kept for specialists to work on, right? Now, that is changing quite a bit. We're looking at the whole IT-OT convergence happening out there, right? Now, if I look back at what is required, right? And let's maybe spend a few seconds on why this unified becomes an important part. The whole conventional ERP systems have the limitations of a robust API not being available. So getting systems to talk was a challenge in the erstwhile world. Getting a full range of capabilities embedded into a system was definitely a challenge in the past, right? And with going digital to being digital to digital in the virtual world, we're seeing a lot of those fundamental shifts happening in the industry. So services and service industries have to align, transform, and map and drive that. So that's a demand side of shift that we're looking at out there, right? On the other side, you're looking at composable apps becoming more important. You're looking at continuous integration, continuous delivery becoming important. You're looking at smart apps becoming critical because of the edge thinking that we have. And if you put all of these together, how do you succeed in this world from a services or managing a project in a services world, right? Quite a few areas that need to get done, quite a few areas that need to sort of get addressed as we go along, right? But 2 or 3 things I can talk of. One is, I think it's gone are the days when you become a vendor to an enterprise. You become a partner. You become a strategic advisor, player, integrator. For the customer there, right? So co-innovation, co-creating, co-building becomes an integral part of it. Second, I think from a driving impact is trust. You need to really work on trust, and trust cuts across business layer, the process layer, the application layer, the platform layer, infrastructure layer, right? You're moving away from, moving towards a high volume and low latency thinking from a transaction perspective, right? A fairly big shift in what's happening out there, right? And, the last dimension I'll talk about is a very deep relation to technology players today, right? Because if I look at services companies and technology companies, deep tech companies definitely need services players to address the market, and it's a very strong vice versa, right? I'll give you an example. And when I talk of the whole integrated space, we're talking of IT, OT, which is integration. Then we're talking of engineering tech, and we're talking of game design and game tech becoming an integral part of the whole play and space there. I can look at few of those tech stacks from an innovation perspective, whether it's Azure IoT, looking at digital twin, Microsoft Mesh. If I can take all of these, the whole definition of what services means is getting transformed. You can actually go back and look at condition-based monitoring of systems becoming more and more real, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's oil and gas, whether it's engineering and construction companies, right? So it's a super play, it has super intelligence across all of these places that need to come together and drive efficiency, help margins, become more strategic, become more top line centric, and probably that's how services will evolve in the digital post pandemic world. Shruti, I'm sure we'll talk more about it as we go along.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Praveen, for that perspective. Apurv, would you please share your point of view as well on this?
Yeah, in fact, many of the points Praveen said are very true with the way the things are changing. Now, let me just give a slightly different perspective from where we come from. So I run a software as a services product company in logistics, right? And we work with a sector which is traditionally very thin on project management to the opposite side. As we all know, project management requires both the teams to work together. from the IT side and the OT side, as Praveen mentioned. And of course, you expect an organization. Now, in erstwhile days of ERP, we used to have proper core teams, steering committees and things like those. Now the customer says, I would want to have a deployment in 1 week time or 2 weeks time, and they don't even want to wait for the entire gap analysis and the fitment cycle to happen. They said, let's just deploy because you are a SaaS product, you are a ready product, start today. So the challenge of project management is very different now in the SaaS kind of environment, because expectations have been set that things can be changed on an agile method on a daily basis. So we had to really rethink the way we did project management, for SaaS. So we divided the project management into two parts. One is leading to a deployment, going live, right? Where, as I mentioned, probably WhatsApp has become our biggest project management tool. And there are so many WhatsApp groups we are juggling with all the time, all of us. And, though you have the, standard Gantt charts and etc. available, the WhatsApp description, Google chart or Google Sheet becomes somehow the de facto monitoring mechanism at times. So we had to adopt such methodology. That is one. And really, really deploy very, very quickly. Now, very importantly, what has happened is that customer is not closing projects at all. Their definition of project being start point, end point has gone. The day you go live is a date of start of the work. Why? Because you've deployed something quickly. Now, as customers adopt the technology, the software, let's say in our area, for example, logistics, they come up with more and more requirements over time. That is one thing. Secondly, we too, as an innovative company, are releasing more and more features as we learn from X set of customers to Y set of customers. The very big challenge became for us, how do we make adoption happen? Project management was all about idea to execution. Now it has gone from idea to adoption, because if you execute but nobody uses a particular feature, it's a big problem. And the environment also changes. For example, take e-waybill, right? Recently, the entire e-invoicing got added on top of e-waybill, and all of us had to change our business processes to align the same. Now, let's say a SaaS company, you're working with 100 customers. How do you make 100 people adopt something which is new? So what we have done, we have divided our teams into two, what we call as horizontal teams. The traditional approach, where you have a project manager, works with a set of customers, kind of takes them through the entire life cycle of beginning to the end. And now we've got what is called as vertical project managers. These are, in a way, product come project managers, whose task is to get a product feature up and running, and then make sure that they pursue, all the customers who are there on the SaaS platform and say, hey, have you adopted this? Have you adopted this? So in a way, two types of projects are running in a way parallel in a matrix fashion right now. So it's been very exciting to work in this kind of a thing. I come from a traditional software background of Infosys and others, but moving to this entire new normal of SaaS deployment has been very, very different. And yes, the profitability part, the question that you asked, it's a challenge, end of the day, because you thought your project is over, team can be moved somewhere else. Now you're supposed to require your team to be available all the time, which means you can't have a dedicated team anymore. The slices are increasing of the time of all the project managers, and that's a tough one, because people are not used to doing parallel things beyond a certain number of things, and you suddenly are wanting them to do 20 things at a time. And that's a challenge we are trying to meet. I'll not say we overcome it, but that's a new normal, and I think we all are adopting this digital world.
Yeah, I really that. In fact, you made a about how same resource is not just dedicated to one place, but you really need to maximum ensure that you have the effective utilization of the people at hand. In fact, that leads me to my next question. That since resources are at the core, right, in the whole execution cycle, it is very important that we not only put them to the best utilization, but also the impact on the productivity and efficiency, right? So Deepak, I would like to invite your attention to this and understand how you think you are optimizing your workforce in order to impact the project success and also help address their productivity.
Okay, thanks first of all, Shruti and Gomti, thanks for calling me here and being one of the panelists. And I really appreciate what initially Praveen has said, that now it's not a back office automation, it's more on a front automation. Earlier it was kind of you centralize your backend thing and done some automation and it's done. But now it's not more. And then Apurva mentioned about very rightly that it's not only go live, it's adoption that makes and subsequent to make it success. Because I myself has observed. If any team left the project at a go live, then it can probably it can vanish after some time, because it's, but yes, as long as you are continuously working for the excellence and making it better and working hard for the adoption, then it makes success. And now just coming to your question that how do we optimize our workforce productivity? I think I just want to mention, because in last 7-8 years, we at an organization is basically working on the three kind of agenda. One is consolidation of centralization of all scalable services, all scalable work. That's number one. Secondly, parallelly, we are digitizing everything wherever we feel that it's something which can either enhance efficiency or probably delight our customer, which create a lot of customer support. And third, we are also working on the specialization. So at this point of time, when you have a lot of manual process, not consolidated, so what's happening that you have a person who's playing a role of generalist as well as specialist. So by doing all these consolidations, centralization, and then automation, thereby we are making sure at least now we have a right optimization of skill, and we are making sure that people are who are actually, so for example, I'll just give you an example, like we have digitized entire order to cash process, and it is as digitized as a touchless kind of. And earlier what was happening, our Salesforce team was managing dealer, were managing dealer orders, then when managing the dealer grievances, etc. And today they just focus on the customer acquisition, because all these things have got into the backend process. So that is something which has and obviously then customer experience, which is more important. So I would say our route to the entire workforce optimization is centralization, digitization, and specialization.
Okay, got it. Partner, would you like to express your views as to how you are looking at this?
Basically, first of all, thank you for inviting me, Microsoft and DNV, and be present in this August gathering. Let me put it like this: since we are into the B2B space and where we supply to the auto OEMs, they are our main customers, in terms of our business. The scope for looking at revenue generation becomes slightly secondary in nature, because 99% things are generally driven by the customer himself, because it's not a market where you need to penetrate and get new orders and business like that. It generally happens on a day-to-day basis, and obviously new business comes up depending on your technological prowess or your capabilities of manufacturing, something like that. So our major focus is revolving around three things. One is, employee productivity improvement. Second is, saving costs on each and every level of, the organizations, starting from your production shop floor to supply chain to office floor to engineering solutions, engineering delivery, time to market, or, all these areas. And the third most important part for our business is making profitability and cash out of the entire business. So I think if you look at these three levers or the KPIs from a business side, so most of our projects, whatever we do in especially for productivity improvement or the part of efficiency improvement or cash or profit, it's revolving around those areas. So we are specially focusing on three major business areas. One is the office floor, where I'll come to in a few minutes, maybe just in 1 minute, that whatever projects we are executing there. Then in shop floor, we are basically working for shop floor automation, complete automation of shop floor. And we have 70+ locations where we are doing these projects on a large scale basis. And the third area is how to improve our engineering processes so that the time to market and product development methodologies improve over a period of time. So looking at the shop floor, first of all, what we are trying to do here is we are trying to implement a large scale blue collar HR solution. So comprising about 20,000 blue collars, which you are going to digitalize the complete, the blue collar area, and in terms of their leave management, their payroll, their each and every other aspect of their employee life cycle is completely getting digitized. And secondly, the second area for the office floor is we have already implemented the digital HR solution where you have the hire to retire process, onboarding, performance management, learning management, succession planning, and all these other modules are, compensation benefit, reimbursements. All these things are already digitized on a standard platform. Third thing what we are doing is we are completely making the shop floor paperless. So when we are saying paperless, that means whatever processes we are maintaining, whether it is quality process, manufacturing process, assembly process, supply chain process, stores process, inventory process, everything will be digitally managed. And like the way Deepak was mentioning, we are also first level, we have done a kind of a digitization. So we try to avoid the paperwork, and second level we are looking at a complete digitalization where maybe most of the things can be AI driven, or logic driven, or many cases it will be driven by certain other devices instead of looking at computer screens and something like that. So this is how we are managing the projects in terms of our productivity improvement. In terms of cost savings, we are trying to drill down to the last level of cost in terms of our supply chain network. As you know, we deal with so many players, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, and so on and so forth. So to have a complete visibility on the cost management, we are deploying a large cost management tool, and which is going to digitalize a complete cost breakup till the last level to find out where we really lack, or where we have strengths and or weaknesses, something like that. So basically the KPIs which we manage, as I already mentioned, is reduction of man hours, working with lesser manpower with better productivity. Obviously that's one of the biggest requirement in today's industrial situation. Obviously increase the value addition, value creation. Another one important part is we have a lot of inorganic acquisitions. So many joint ventures are coming up, many mergers are happening, so globally, also locally. So how to manage those inorganic acquisitions through these platforms, which is one of the most difficult things to do, because whenever you have your homogeneous organic organization, it's much easier to deploy things. When you have inorganic acquisitions, it's much difficult, cultural differences, change management, and many other adoption speed and something like that. So that's one of the things we are trying to handle through all these platforms. And this also brings in unification, compliance to GDPR. Now the privacy data bill is also coming up. All these things are also getting happening. And at the end of the day, since we are also trying to achieve the GPTW in the scores or the certification, so obviously employee satisfaction, at the same time retention is going to be one of the key aspects of all these digitization initiatives which we are doing right now. Thank you.
Yeah, Parna, I think you made very relevant and pertinent points in this respect. In fact, digitization is one of the key areas which is also directly and impacting the productivity. I think the other area is also ensuring that you have the right people with the right skill sets mapped to the project requirements at the right time. So if you have that kind of a mapping and matching also available, this impacts the productivity of the employees to a great extent as well. Because this will also help you, like you mentioned, a couple of solutions in place, which will help them reassess where they exist today in terms of their learning skills, etc. And maybe take some advanced courses in order to upskill themselves or cross-skill themselves, right? So even that is going to be a kind of a thing in this. Now, let me just switch gears a bit, and Dinesh, let me come to you. Today, we are the kind of the new normal that we're living in. This is really forcing the organizations to kind of reassess the way their business models are. We are looking at new ways of doing the business, right? In such a scenario, what do you think, how automation and analytics can play a role in your decision making?
Thank you, Shruti, and thanks for inviting me to this August panel. I think the way I'm listening to the discussion today, what we probably are witnessing one of the fastest change happening around all of us, right? The way the industries are changing. If you just go back 10 years, the way we all used to work, and today the way we are working, it just has completely changed. The wave of COVID is also another, I would say, an accelerator, which we probably would not be thinking in India at least that we all would be working from home or any remote location. But today it just has become very normal. While it may be very common in US, but India was not there. But as we talk today, and as we seen in my own company in Cactus, we are going remote. Like people can work from anywhere. And what happened then because of that, the business model where we were planning something, let's say next 5 years, has undergone a change. That's within my company, let's say, but we are working with several other clients, and even their business models are going through a change. So what's happening that today what we see is the business models across the globe are just shifting, I would say, on a monthly basis. It's not anymore that where quarterly things will change. It's just, everything is changing. The other big aspect which is happening that the tools and technology which we used to use are also changing so fast. Like we had a tool we implemented last year, and then today again we are feeling that probably we need to have a better tool. There was a tool where things were mixing, where there was a manual or there was a people plus technology, but now the new technology has come where you don't need people. The technology itself can take care of the people. So how do you redeploy those people? How do you reskill your workforce? Because you can't really let go everyone, right? Because everybody needs to reskill itself. So as everybody on the panel is mentioning that there are so many challenges coming, which also forces the business model to change while still taking care of the client, making sure the revenues are intact and growing, while also still ensuring that the cost aspect of the businesses are taken care. So it's a very different world today where we live in, and it's no more just one department role that finance will take care of in the cost aspect. It has become more like a team effort where CIO, CTO, CFOs, and CEOs kind of work together and see, okay, which kind of tools are required, how the things needs to shape, and the agility has become the common word, right? Unless you change and you can change fast, the businesses actually will not survive. That is the reality, the hard reality which we are going through, that the change has become so important, and it's a fast change, and agility is so important that the teamwork, collaboration has become the most important aspect. And where this is where Mr. Gomti also said, right, that you need to be collaborative at org level, and each and every department in the team needs to really work together to ensure that the org is moving ahead. To take care of the customer delight, and all these aspects. So very different world. But the good part is that there are a lot of tools and technology which is available. It's just that you need to go and get that incorporated into your system and build it up. And as long as we do that, I think we should be able to make sure that the business models are aligned. There's no one answer which fit perfect to every company. It's a moving target for every one of us. And I think as long as we keep changing, we keep innovating, we should be all good. That's what my feeling is.
Sure, Dinesh. Thanks for that view. Chirag, if I can invite you for this, I mean, what would be your take on, how that automation and analytics can play a role in this kind of a scenario for you to be agile in terms of your decision making, especially in such changing scenarios?
Sure. Thanks, Shruti. Yeah, I mean, these are crazy times. You use the term new normal. I believe that this is the most abused term in nowadays. See, the point is the world had already moved on from love at first sight. It had moved on from love at first sight to love at swipe right. So I don't like to pivot my conversation around COVID, because these things have been there from time immemorial, right? How things have happened, last 1.5 years, how things have changed. What it has done is it has essentially accelerated the trends which were pretty much inevitable any which ways, right? We were talking about it, and whether it's your e-commerce, whether it's education tech, whether it's virtual tours, mixed reality, you name a thing, it was pretty much there on the anvil. Writing was all there on the wall. COVID has just accelerated this. Again, it's not about just digitization because, as Dinesh was saying, I think things are changing, things are evolving really, really fast. And it's not about digitization. I'll probably quote what Praveen was saying. We started, IT department. I'm in an August panel of technology and finance, but I'll just go back a bit. And if you see, IT actually, or tech actually started as just a support function, genuinely a support function. Outside the business, I need computer, I need laptop, I need printer, and that's pretty much, that's before 1990s. And then came a concept of collaboration, right? Where, you bring all of these different varied siloed working functions together in a orchestrate using ERPs and CRMs of the world, right? Invariably, things changed. In 2000, we started talking about tech-enabled or tech-led differentiation, right? You have Alexa-enabled homes, you have purifiers, and you have XYZ, and all that is done. But what COVID has done is that it has brought tech as a heart of the business. It is pretty much within the business now. We call it, we essentially call it, it's a digital business. And what is a digital business? It is essentially, it's all about your marketing or creative opportunities are completely hinged upon digital technologies. And hence, it's about agility, it's about resiliency. If you think that there is a lead who is actually on your website, he has done some research on the social media, it is a warm lead, it's a hot lead. You've got to act more upon it at that point in time. If you wait, competition will swamp that lead away. So it's the agility of responding and making value of a situation and acting and responding in such a way that it translates benefit not just for you as a seller but as a buyer as well, because he was or she was on the website doing his or her research using social media, and the list goes on. And probably Gomti gave a very, very simple example of collaboration because of probably he had only 10 minutes to talk about, but the complications in our real world is far more. I mean, there are many, many moving parts. You don't have 5 stakeholders. There are 10 actually, or 15. You start scouting. I mean, I come from a real estate background. You start scouting for a real estate property. Then there is a real estate team which actually does the survey, collects the information, speaks to the asset management team, see if it can be sold. There comes the project team, works on the construction and the fit out activity. Then parallelly, the activities start of marketing, then you get a lead, then you get you work on build to suit, and then eventually get those, customers on site and start billing, and you start paying to the landlord. And then at times you outsource as well. You see, imagine, I mean, in a brief 30 seconds, I could count probably 10, 15 stakeholders, probably much beyond what Gomti spoke. So it is fairly complicated, and obviously, digitization, transformation, and the analytics part of it. Analytics again is more of a buzzword, but I think more to do with data wisdom, where you leverage on the past data and start making sense out of it and transform and act from a business standpoint. So these are actually they were never optional, but they have become critical now.
I completely agree. So this is the need of the hour, and these are something which is a must kind of a things in order to really have that right sense of direction as to how, and we can, instead of being reactive, it's more about being proactive and getting that kind of an approach in place. So now let's move to Sanjay. Let me have your views on certain things here. So, for example, we're looking at the project not only from a customer point of view, but also there are many internal projects that we are really engaging in on a daily basis, right? So, what are the key technology enablers that you think will help you get the right ROI from those projects?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Shruti, for hosting us here. And I think this is the great panel I ever been in the panel discussion, because the mix what we have currently here is almost all stakeholders are talking about the technology, about the digitalization, and we have very mixed view In fact, this is the vertical what we have, or the representation what we have. We have a very mixed view, and I'm really enjoying this conversation. Coming back to the enablers, I think first and foremost we need to understand the landscape of any organization. In India, typically, we formally we know that India is largely a functional organization. Like in any organization, you'll be having two typical organizations, like functional organization and projecting organization. But in reality, you may not be having a 100% functional organization or 100% projecting organization. What we have is a hybrid organization, right? You have a lot of departments who are working for the projects, and you have a project team which is working and following those departments who are contributing to the projects. Companies like us, where we have more than a couple of hundreds, stakeholders managing a couple of thousands of tasks for each and every project, it is very difficult and imperative for any project manager or any project team to collaborate with each one of them and understand their priority resourcing allocations and what kind of resources they are allocating at what time. Basically, when you are working on multiple projects, it's very difficult and complex in an organization where we are having multiple projects, which may be in counts of hundreds and so on or so forth, right? Here comes the digitalization, and I think Chirag has put forward very nicely. Digitalization was there. I think what COVID has done is it has accelerated the things. It is actually it has helped us to bring to the front, and then the beauty of the digitalization or beauty of technology is emerging like never before. And that is where I think my next points where we need to have collaborations, and those are the couple of points which can help us to accelerate the project in projecting organization. First and foremost, I think we need to have a nice collaboration, and you have a couple of tools now and technology words. For example, the tool which we are using now, Teams. Teams started with a certain amount of people for collaboration. Then they realized the benefit of having this kind of tool for collaboration. And now we have, more than a couple of hundred or rather 1,000 people can, collaborate on Teams. And this is one of the beautiful things which have happened from a digital world. So the way we have emerged in our technology, the business is also getting emerged in the technologies. Now people are understanding, because you are no more in a meeting room, you need to have a technology solution which will enable you to fasten your product activities, right? And that is where the whole shift of thought process has been changed. Now, as Chirag mentioned, IT guys or IT folks were called in a meeting room just to fix the connection. The video call is not working, or your Polycom is not working, and guys, we have latency, and hence we are not able to having a good audio. Gone those other days. Now technologies are being looked at as a solution providers. Technology people are looked at as a leaders in the business now, and think that is a major shift what we are looking at. Second line item which I would like to quote here is how do you work with your customer, whether you are B2C or B2B? How do you delight your customer by bringing the right collaboration, the right tools to collaborate more on the projects, and bringing all the resources together. Now, resources can be your manpower resources, or resources could be your material and machines. Like manpower resources, you have easy collaboration, or maybe as Apurva mentioned, there is an official way of collaborating, or there is an unofficial way of collaborating. And unfortunately, fortunately, whatever we call the unofficial way of collaborating, that is WhatsApp, is more prevalent nowadays rather than having some team meetings and all, right? Because WhatsApp is easy, and it is reachable to everybody everywhere. I think technology as a corporate technology or corporate collaboration tool, I think we should be having something like this. And this would be urged to technology leaders like Microsoft, if you can think in that direction as well. My point here is, I think agility is something which has been asked by each and every customer. They need to have agility of collaborating. They need not have to go to a particular application, or they need not have to go to a particular organization-based suite, and then they try to collaborate. We need to have something which will be more fluid and agile for the collaboration. So customer centricity is definitely if there is something which we can work on, and there is an area for improvement. A lot of things can happen in the customer centricity. I think third point where I think digital would impact is the data insights, and Chirag has already mentioned, and Apurva, Gomti has also covered a little bit, and Praveen also mentioned during his discussion that when we are having the data, which is historical data, if we can learn from the data and if we can use that as a staging, for taking our decisions. I think this is something which is very critical for any organization. Unfortunately, we have silos of systems. Maybe before 4 or 5 years, still we are in the phase of collaborating all the application together. Not every application is capable to collaborate with another application, particularly when there are specialized applications. And industry like us, we are having more challenges when we are having very special applications or softwares which are not so easy for having a collaboration with other applications. But there are business applications like ERP of the world. There are business applications like your CRM suites, or there are business applications like your project management suite. Fortunately, they are having a lot of collaboration nowadays, and that has made us little easy for having at least that group of people to collaborate together and exchange common things. That is another things which I'm putting forward here as one of the digital enabler we can consider of. And I think the last and most important thing for me is trying something new. I think COVID has pushed us to the wall to try something new. And again, I'm taking where Chirag has mentioned that it was there actually, but we were never thought of using that, right? The way we are using the Teams now, we have never thought of using the Teams because Teams was there almost for 4 or 5 years now. When we were in office, we never used to have team calls. We were always have chai coffee calls and maybe a meeting call, and we used to occupy the meeting rooms. But trying a new and trying with the grace is something would be definitely another point where your digitalization and where you can see as an enabler for projecting organization in this situation. That is something what I would like to share here, and I will take pause here, Shruti.
Yeah, Sanjay, I think that's really nice because, collaboration is one of the key things. In fact, I have a dedicated question on that, which I will shoot up in some time. But collaboration and the technology that is enabling that collaboration like Teams, it has really grown. I mean, the way we have kind of started leveraging key features there to be in touch, to collaborate across multiple business divisions, even to collaborate externally with the customers, right? This is something which is really bringing everything on the same platform and helping to expedite the entire performance out there. Deepak, can I also invite your views on the same question as to what do you think are your technology enablers in order to help expedite the ROI on the projects?
So in terms of managing the projects and getting collaboration with the entire cross-functional team, as of now, I would say we are not using any tool or enabler as such. But on a general, if I talk about general, and I believe that strong business partnering with the IT, and secondly, the cross-functional team engagement. And obviously, we face this challenge often where a lot of thing where we need to plan, where we need to see the status update, etc., and where we need to finally evaluate the outcome of each and every toll gate. So we really face challenge that. So currently we are not using any tool to manage the project.
So let me get to you, Dinesh. Now, if you're looking, at the whole cycle from the time the lead generation happens, how it gets converted to the opportunity, to the order, the execution, the billing phase, and finally, and the adoption phase, as we just highlighted in the discussion, that is going live is not sufficient. It is also the adoption that matters. So right to the to the right closure of the entire project. What is the automation you think is really going to make this entire life cycle seamless?
Right. So I think and this challenge of making everything seamless has been there for a good amount of time. Over the years or period, we have kind of evolved, and now few things talk to each other, but few things still don't talk to each other. We are getting better. So for if I see my current organization or even past companies, we have always seen that finance working as a standalone unit. We have our ERPs which are there, but they don't talk to the say CRM of the company, or they don't talk to payroll or So there was always a disconnect in terms of different data applications which are running, but they don't talk to each other, which means you need people in between to make them talk, right? You would have to transfer the data, or you would have some reconciliations done and whatnot. What's slowly happening, and that's where the real challenge comes from IT, technology, and finance perspective, is to make these applications talk to each other. And as Sanjay was saying, few technology you can have them talk to each other, but in few cases you can't, because these are the old applications which got developed over the years, and there's no way unless you change it. And that's where what's happening as we are trying to work seamless in the organization and have each and every component of the organization, say marketing, delivery, finance, HR, everybody talk to each other in a solution, which means either we need to change what we already have, or if there are existing solutions, they need to talk to each other. So there is a big change management process which is going on at this point in time. Today, let me just give you an example, like the CRM system where we work in the company, where the client gives us job, and we are on Oracle in the organization. Luckily, they are talking to each other, and because of the work we put in, there's a seamless integration between CRM to Oracle, and from Oracle to bank we have one seamless integration, and that's what the whole integration process currently we are working on. So that way, the whole organization can work in an effective manner. Otherwise, half the time we are just wasting on finding the data, where the errors, where the reconciliation. So the need for today is to have a org structure on a technical platform which talks across the whole organization. You can't create a solution which is just taking care of, say, finance or HR, but if it doesn't talk to marketing or delivery team, then it's not going to work. And that's what we are seeing. The existing solutions are evolving. I think the good part is that all the tech companies are taking steps towards that. And the good part, the other thing is that there are new solutions which are coming in the market. They are org level thinking. They are not just basis of the finance thinking or working on one part of the organization, but they are thinking at the overall level. And I think those are the critical aspect, which is what are going to change over the next few years. And I guess that would be the way forward for any company to work seamlessly and having a small team rather than just having a large team to manage all these functions. That's my own view, Shruti.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, Apurv, can I also invite your opinion in terms of the automation that you see in this cycle? Sorry, Apurv, you're on mute.
My apologies. Sorry. So as all the panel members have mentioned that there is a combination today of the automation and other tools. There is always going to be that human intervention part, for executing things in time. So we do have a set of tools, a combination of, I'll say, in-house tools which are created by our team for managing these deployments. At the same time, we do collaborate with the customers mainly through collaboration tools like Teams and Google. Because see, everybody does not adopt the same, let's say, project management tool. That becomes a challenge always, and so that's why Google's of the world and Teams are in the business, and that collaboration has really improved quite a lot. Now, the idea of using the automation tool, of course, is to measure very importantly, because if you don't measure, you don't know where you're going. And one of the key problems which happens is the allocation of teams where they've spent time, which customer has taken up away more of your bandwidth. If you don't keep a tab on it, then the crying baby is going to drink all the milk all the time. And you always have a certain customers who are going to be aggressive, who want everything right on today basis. But they may not be contributing to your bottom line the maximum or the top line the maximum. The person on the field doesn't know that. He's a project person, he's supposed to respond. So I believe the use of automation tool is really helping us there, whereby producing the relevant reports, scorecards on a daily basis or a weekly basis, where we kind of sensitize our teams that, hey, this is the 80-20, right? Pareto is here. We are all here to serve the customers to the best of their interest. But do note that you're leaving out a big guy at the expense of a crying guy. And that's where the automation tools are really helping us to kind of streamline. It's not perfect. The crying guy always gets more attention, and that's going to happen. As the teams are very young, by the way, one of the factors we have to also keep in mind, all of us out here are senior professions. For the people working on the ground facing, the customers. Typically, there is a 26-year-old, 27-year-old person facing, a senior CIO. He's going to keep the project management aside, the automation aside, and just do what is being shouted at many a times. And sensitizing our people, saying that, hey, end of the day, you're doing work in the favor of your customer, and he may be a CIO, but this is his organization which will suffer if you don't follow the proper path and just bypass a few, short circuit a few things. So in spite of having these automation tools, some of these culture issues and people issues are there. And increasingly, the workforces are extremely young. And one of the other thing which also it leads to is that, impetuousness. Now, there is no automation tool to solve that as on today. But these are the, daily challenges you live to kind of solve, right? That's our daily job. So it's a combination, I think. But I will definitely look for some cultural tool to help me with the other automation tools.
The cultural tool could be something, has to be devised really. That requires another level of innovation, maybe.
I know.
Companies to take up. Well, that's a good point. Okay, let me now just get back to the collaboration point that you were just really talking about. And I said I do have a deep dive question on that. So, Partner, how do you collaborate in your case across the various departments? Because collaboration is really key to success in a way, right? Because unless and until you collaborate effectively between the various business divisions, people having, that kind of information handoff, etc., it becomes difficult. So how do you, collaborate across these departments that you can create a singular view of the business and your customers?
So, when you say collaboration, we have, three ways of looking at collaboration. The first one is the employee processes or the employee lifecycle management processes. So where I already shared that we are using a digital HR solution where employee processes, employee self-service processes are getting collaborated between employees to their managers, to the HR departments and admin and other stuff. So this is one side of collaboration. The second side of collaboration is when you collaborate externally. And the internal part I'll come later on. Externally, when you're talking with your suppliers, when you're talking with your customers, and there we generally use the open platforms. Sometimes Microsoft, sometimes may not be Microsoft. So it depends on whatever tools are right nowadays being used, in terms of doing webinars or meetings or certain collaborations which are required for your business transactions. The third piece is basically on the employee collaboration side, which is within the organization. And when we say collaboration, now this time we are talking about the collaboration in terms of communication or doing meetings or doing, open houses or something like that. So largely we use the Microsoft platform, and obviously we are a customer for a very, very long time on the Microsoft platform. On the other hand, when we talk about collaboration focused on the customer processes, we have built an in-house CRM tool, which is a very aggressive project we have executed in last few years. And this CRM tool starts with the customer visit management, then leading up to the customer RFQ management, then leading up to your business conversions. And also it has an integration back and forth with the SAP solution or the ERP solution which we have. And then this actually brings a lot of visibility in terms of what kind of pipeline management we are doing. So that collaboration platform is another platform which we are using in terms of especially for business management processes. So one side we have the teams and the other collaborating solutions for doing the meetings and conferences and all the other stuff within the organization. And I can give you some facts and figures like in the month of May last year, not this year, 2020, when the lockdown started and hit us very badly, suddenly things happened, and we were having around 20 people using Teams that time, and suddenly ramped up to 4,000 in just 2 days time. Without any trainings, without any kind of knowledge sharing, everybody started using Teams without any kind of inputs to the users. At the same time, in 1 month itself, we calculated we have done 65,000 meetings 1:1, 1:many, because we have 70 locations and so many types of departments, and such wide platforms. So I think that is one of the successes we have seen in the collaboration suites, and really thanks to two service providers. One is the software providers, the SaaS applications providers, and on the other hand, the telecom providers. These two have really ensured us that we really survived during those critical times. This year we were more prepared, because last time we already experienced what was supposed to be done and not to be done. The goods and bads were available with us. On the CRM tool which I was sharing, we have done a very good job in terms of collaborating with our engineering, collaborated with our product engineering, process engineering, manufacturing engineering, with our R&D teams, with the manufacturing teams, and all other stakeholders, materials, finance. Everybody is part of that collaboration tool, which we have made in-house, obviously, because we were thinking of taking up some standard tools, but it did not suit the requirements which we had. And as I told you, we are in the B2B market, especially automotive domain, so it's very complicated to look at the processes, and many times change management also is a big problem. Suppose I don't want to name the vendors, we try to go into some standard CRM tool, the kind of resistance we have internally is really huge. So that doesn't help us in jumping into those kind of solutions. So we generally try to accommodate all the requirements into the platforms which we develop now. So that is how we look at collaboration and how we are delivering services to the organization. Again, looking at the KPIs, one is major thing is conversion improvements with our customers, better collaboration with our customers. Then the second thing is obviously reducing time to market and time to conversions, because nowadays time is extremely important. If you lose time, you lose everything. So you lose money, you lose efforts, you lose everything. So these are few of the KPIs apart from the efficiency improvement and productivity improvements we are currently monitoring through these collaboration tools.
I think, Partha, you gave us such nice statistics, about the kind of the growth that you saw in terms of the user acceptance, user adoption of the new technologies, or not really required, so self-learning kind of a tool that is required. And secondly, you also mentioned about the kind of CRM tool that you are the way you're leveraging technology in the CRM space. That is also very commendable, because those are the key business areas where that collaboration really creates and makes an impact, because that is where the things really start. And the KPIs, definitely, if we have a right set of the tools available, the right set of technology enablers available, it will definitely help us to address things like the time to market, right? Help us improve the winning ratio in any organization. Sanjay, if I can invite your attention also to the same question as to how you think you are kind of taking collaboration in your organization to make sure that your different touch points with the customer are all addressed.
Okay. So I'll try to put little different perspective what Pranav also mentioned, right? Okay. Collaboration, definitely, I think this is the heart of any organization. Forget about project, but if you want to run any organization, collaboration has to be there. That is key one, right? Now I put forward collaboration into three buckets. One is a human collaboration, another is a system collaboration, and third is your machine collaboration. First and foremost, I'll lay some light on the human collaborations. With the change of time, I think last couple of years, human collaboration has reached to a higher level where it was before 4 to 5 years, where only human interaction, direct interaction used to happen. Now with the telephone or with the WhatsApp or with the teams like collaboration tools, it has increased rapidly. And as Pranav mentioned, from 200 to 4,000, this is a dramatical shift on a human collaboration. I think we are good on human collaboration because we are supported by the systems, we are supported by the applications, and we are supported by the technologies. From an organization perspective, there are organization applications which are available for collaboration. From a personal perspective, there are applications which are available for collaboration. My focus would be more on the system collaboration. So all of us here probably would agree a little bit that the parity of systems what we have, there are certain systems which are of very new age systems. There are certain systems which are old age system, and bringing collaboration in the system is very difficult nowadays. You are really struggling with the APIs to collaborate one system with another. And in fact, I have taken this point in my earlier discussion as well. Why it is important? Because the moment you are exchanging the data, the moment you are getting the data from one set to another set, there is a seamless integration which is needed between the systems. Take an example, if your CRM system is not talking to your ERP system, you need to pull a lot of reports from CRM system, ask somebody to pull those reports. That means you are losing a time. That means you are losing a resource, and bring the into ERP system. And in ERP, you have to have somebody who will be feeding that reports and feeding the data, which again a time and a resource wastage. If we have a system which is talking to each other seamlessly and at a frequency which is already defined in the algorithms, this task becomes seamless task, and thereby you would be reducing your cycle time, reducing your wastage on the resources. So hence, I think it is very important for us to understand about the collaboration on the system level. Third, which is again important collaboration, which is at machine level. So there could be a system collaboration which is now at a stage 2, but machine collaboration is still at a stage 3. There are a lot of machines which are producing key data, which is very vital for your organization to take decision and submit to the authorities. Here we have different industries, so everybody may have different authorities. But key is here that you have to have systems, or you have to have some data which is coming from the machines, which you need to submit, or which you need to probably process. Rather, if you're not submitting that in a raw data, that format, you have to process the data, and getting the data is again a difficult task. If you have a collaboration with the system and machines, then you'll be, again fast tracking your cycle for decision. You will be saving a lot of resources which are employed to process the data, and then you would be overall having an impact on your project. So for me, I think collaboration at all this level, if we can reach to a nirvana, which probably a dream, then I think we would be having a lot of benefit in terms of having a projectized organization and having this type of collaboration, which is seamless at people level, system level, and machine level. At that point in time, I think there would be the situation where you did not have to worry about much of collaboration at human level. There will be a collaboration which is happening at system and machine level, which will be probably bringing down 50% of the human collaboration. And that is the point I think we should be aiming as a core team. Like we have leaders from technology, we have leaders from finance, and we have leaders from rest of the industry. So if we can think about that, and if we can have a support from tech companies, I think this is something we should be aiming at each and every organization. That's my take on the collaboration. Thanks, Shruti. Over to you.
Thanks, Sanjay. A very different and a very unique perspective there. I actually just like to add one more thing here. When we're talking of collaboration, right? Collaboration, while we have multiple tools, it is the contextual collaboration that will really add value, I think, in the whole chain of scheme of things, right? Because if you're able to collaborate with respect to the context that we're working on without really leaving things or having the right the trails of all those discussions also behind on a single platform, that really will also help to add value.
Yeah, and I think in any project management team, what is the activity which project managers are doing? They're largely following with the people, right? Why don't you send me that report? Why don't you send me that calculations, or why don't you send me that task which is you have completed? If we have a support from a system which will directly pull the report and push it to the repository where nobody has to follow up on that particular report, imagine the amount of time saving and effort saving we will be bringing to the table by bringing such kind of collaborations amongst the systems and applications.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Chirag, let me invite your attention now here. I think we have had good discussions, on the need of the collaboration, the digitization, the kind of the integrations, the seamless integrations between the multiple applications. Right now, if, just a very simple question to you, I'm kind of trying to summarize the discussions in these questions. So what role do you think a unified service execution platform will really play in bringing about the synergies across the various business functions, especially, when like we're talking about the CRM applications, ERP applications, the different, what if these things in terms of the whole execution could be brought up out, in the same platform? So what are the kinds of synergies, in terms of getting the 360-degree views of the entire cycle, whether it be a project, a customer, etc.?
Sure. Thanks. I mean, it's $1 million question. It's and I do have radical thoughts on this actually. We keep talking about the collaboration part of it. Trust me, again, Teams, Hangouts, and Zoom. I mean, not Zoom, but Teams, Hangouts have been there for quite some time. I think that's not, that's probably one of the pillars which we probably, started adapting, as one of you were saying that, COVID helped us transition quickly from, not limited usage to very high usage. But think from a collaboration perspective, wherein, as an individual, I was reading a stats, 16 odd apps, SaaS applications is being used by, on an average, digitally, first organizations, 16. And that's quite a high number. A, you need to keep shuffling here and there. B, then you have to, remember the password if it's not single sign-on. And even if it's single sign-on, I have an example that the procurement system will throw out, and you approve a procurement system. There is a CRM system where is a lead and there is a proposal. You're approving the proposal in CRM system. Procurement system is separate. Leave management is separate. Reimbursement is separate. And the list goes on and on and on. I mean, I can talk about, car loans and your, taxation system. There are like too many tools here and there all over the place. The real crux of collaboration is, as you were rightly, you quoted it rightly, it's a contextual collaboration. If it is contextual in nature, you can't be shuffling here and there. Everything has to come in a unified platform on a platter to our employees and as well as other stakeholders, whether it's partners, vendors, and brokers and so on and so forth, right? So if there is a unified platform which can bring all of these things together on a platter, if there is a leave approval, if there is a proposal approval, if you are applying for your taxes, if you are actually doing a fuel reimbursement, car loans, you are getting a proposal from the partners, your TDS, your invoices, the list goes on and on. And they're all over the place because they're all using different sources, and most of it is predominantly emails in today's context, which is sad. But I must tell you, EDIs, electronic data interchange, these were the words used in 1990s. Not that I come from that era, I'm not that old, but essentially these things were all there, but probably, again, didn't get the right focus and energy and backing up from the board that, these are the need of the hour. I mean, I believe I have worked in retail as well extensively. And I can quote an example, from a previous organization where HUL, Hindustan Unilever, they used to force the company where I used to work, which was Aditya Birla, to use their SKU codes or item codes and their specification, because they were using the electronic data interchange, and that makes their life easy. And that is the need of the hour. That's how the collaboration is. It's not about using Google Forms and mails and scanned copies, because the intent is that it should be seamless enough for all the stakeholders to work together and make it efficiently. And it's only when you have this kind of data which works seamlessly between the different applications is when the AI comes into the picture. Because as of now, the data is all sitting in silos here, there, and then it's very difficult to bring big data and then make sense out of it and start using and leveraging it for, augmenting the human ingenuities, right? So it happens only when you have the right set of data, and then you make, transition and transcend to the next level by working that what works, what if analysis and all. That can all happen when you have the data as to when HUL fails to deliver, when there is a lockdown, when there is an event of unlockdown. You got to work on that direction when you have that data in a right platform and in a right collaborative approach. So I think it's a massive transformation which is there on the anvil. We have some good finance colleagues here. I'm sure they're listening and they're going to loosen their purse strings and give it to us to do what we want to do and we want to achieve. And it's doable. It's not that difficult. It's been all there. We got to leverage the platforms which are there and then think from that perspective and make it happen.
Yes, thank you so much, Chirag, for that point of view. Praveen, can I invite your concluding thoughts on the same question of the unified service?
Do you want to check on any questions from the audience?
Yeah, let me just, I think this is the final, and then maybe we'll just take the questions after this. Praveen, your view, concluding view.
Okay, so Shruti, I think very, very interesting conversation. So if let me define a unified service execution platform. I'll call it, so we're moving from two dimension, moving from a smart enterprise to an intelligent enterprise today, right? And when I talk of intelligent enterprise, and if you look at pandemic itself, last year when we hit the pandemic, while many organizations went ahead and struggled with even staying alive, there were a set of organizations who, and I think Parna gave an example of 20 to 4,000 in 2 days, right? So there was something different in this organization. Not that they were in the cloud, right? Being in the cloud, having the right product was an important point, but it was something beyond that. And that something beyond that, I can define it as a unified service execution platform, right? If that is the reason these companies thrived in the peak of pandemic. They grew, they scaled, they delivered, they achieved highest level of customer satisfaction, beautiful adoption strategies along the way, right? So, from a unified service execution platform, and I'll give you one very, very easy, very simple example, right? And take an example, when a unified service execution platform exists, if you see a lot of us have, and we spoke of collaboration on Teams, right? Now, if about a year back, somebody had that click to a core unification happening from a data perspective, people would have, at least the apparel industry would have quickly realized that only shirts sell in this context. Pants don't sell, right? You could have reconfigured your entire supply chain to address and match your demand. You could have reduced wastages along the way. Now, that's a very interesting concept, and I want to give a very simple example of what a unified platform can actually mean for industry. And getting those insights early stage before they actually happen becomes very, very important and critical to survival, especially in the digital world that we're talking about today, right? And one very, very, very important perspective I'll give when I look at unified services, to moving from while we're going digital, we went hands-free on most operations, right? Now, after going digital, after moving into the pandemic and post-pandemic world, we are slowly tending to move towards human-free operations, right? And I'm not talking of reducing people cost. That is not the intent at all. Human-free operations in the pandemic world became need of the hour, right? Even in peak, I'm sure manufacturing industries, less than 60% of the people were allowed to enter factories, but you have to keep production at the same capacity. You have to keep quality at the same standards, right? So the human-free thinking, and that's where the whole collaboration machine, a robo, and a human becomes very important. And the more you think of non-human based environments, a unified service platform becomes very, very important. There are concepts of smart contracts coming in. The moment I think of smart contracts and digitized trust, the whole idea of a unified service platform will be way different than what we can visualize today. And we are there already. A lot of those things are already there in terms of what can be done, right? And even Chirag, if Chirag looked at the whole idea of a unified service platform, from selling real estate to building a real estate, BIM integration with CRM and ERP, right? And do the whole design collaboration, design engineering-led thinking into the consumption layer thinking. You're talking of a very, very, very different world. You're consumerizing OT, you're consumerizing CAD and CAE and BIM tools. You're bringing it to the edge and blending it back with the whole world there. I will pause there, Shruti. I know there's a topic can continue for a long time, but I know we're hitting the top of the hour now.
I think I really enjoyed this entire panel discussion, having so many perspectives, different points of views, and really, what are the key things which are the key success factors or the driving factors in order to have that which will help us really maximize our performance as such. I don't know if we have much time, but let me just take a few questions which have come up from the audience. The first, and the floor is open to all of you. Any one of you can really volunteer for this. How are modern digital platforms being used for project accounting and revenue compliance? In what ways are they resulting in better outcomes as compared to the conventional approaches? Anybody who would like to take this up? Any experience on these kind of things?
Mr. Deepak would like to, I think you're on mute, sir.
Sorry. Can I answer this?
Yes, please, Deepak, go ahead.
Okay. So I think it's regarding that how the modern revenue accounting and their revenue process takes place. Broadly, that's the question.
Sorry, say that again. Sorry.
Can you just repeat the question once again?
It's how are modern digital platforms being used for project accounting and revenue compliance? In what ways are they resulting in better outcomes as compared to the conventional approaches?
Okay, so it is regarding project accounting, not the project accounting and revenue, and not for the normal one.
Yeah, project accounting and the revenue.
Then probably I would.
Yeah, let me inform how we are doing right now. By the way, we are not using Microsoft projects or something else for this. We have a different platform where we are using a concept called earned value management, EVM. So earned value management is nothing but creating a complete track of how much you're spending on each project in terms of resource, time, machineries, tools, anything. So this EVM is a very robust and a very mature process in the Western market. But in India, I think it is currently slightly, I will say, slightly premature in nature. But this is coming up very fast. We are using it for all our engineering expenses, which is basically dealing with the customer projects, and the invoicing also happens from that system itself. So just for your information, I just don't want to mention the tool name right now because it's not the right platform to use a competitor's name here. But I think that tool, the solution is called EVM, earned value management, and it basically creates the complete project costing, and then do an invoicing in terms of the customer. You can also build up your the kind of margins you want to put in that project, and then it automatically does an invoicing to the customer from the tool itself, and it can also integrate backwards to your ERP application. So that is how we are managing today in terms of project expenses and project invoicing, and 700 of our engineers are using this tool. So it's starting from your time capturing, your timesheet capturing, your project other resource capturing. Everything is done in that tool itself. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Parna. In fact, maybe Gomti, you can comment as to how Microsoft Project Operations is also a tool that can really help the entire, project accounting and compliance as a single platform. There was another question. I'll just take this last question, maybe in the interest of time. How the professional services organization can watch the complete life cycle of a project by way of one tool, and can they do individual billing as well? Maybe I can answer that question. Well, if you look at the Microsoft Project Operations as a tool, right? So this is one single unified platform that we provide for the professional services organization, which takes care of the complete life cycle, right from the stage a lead is generated, you interact with the customers, to the time that lead gets converted into the order, and that entire cycle of the transition becomes seamless because there is no handover between different applications there. So from the time the lead is getting converted into the order and then into the execution, so there is a complete visibility of how you're addressing your customer requirements, how that contract is actually shaping up in terms of the execution, is all available with the help of tools like Microsoft Project Operations. Well, with this, I would like to thank you all the panelists for the wonderful session, for your time, for your thoughts, which was really interesting. And Hardik, I would like to hand over to you here.
Thank you.
What a passionate panel discussion. Part of what makes a great panel discussion is just the diversity of perspectives from our participating panelists. And today, we've had no dearth of incredibly diverse and enriching viewpoints. So thank you, Ms. Garg, for moderating the panel so effortlessly, answering the audience question and summarizing the entire panel discussion. I'm sure our participating audience members have so many fantastic takeaways from the discussion. With this, we bring today's virtual conference to a close. Today's session, however, wouldn't have been a success without the phenomenal participation of our speaker, the power-packed panelists, moderator, and certainly our audience members. I would like to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out for being a part of this virtual conference today. A special thanks, however, to Microsoft India, our partners, for their incredible support, without whom this initiative wouldn't have been possible. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. Please take care and continue to stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.